Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Hold on to your hats with this one. We're doing a video now about a letter written by Roger Livermore. Now, Roger has come up on the channel before, but more in connection with COVID and with the actions taken at the time. I first sort of encountered him and with the dealings with Leslie Roberts. Leslie, of course, has been working with him, and he's done some sort of sterling, wonderful work on that side of the equation, on videos that we've done in the past, on things that matter to people. But Roger has now written a letter with regards to Dorothy Bane and her particular role, and he is saying that the SNP government are now effectively beyond the law. They cannot effectively be prosecuted. We're going to go through his letter and just to highlight the dangers of having the amalgamation, if you will, of the executive in the form of the SNP government and the justice system. Instead of being separate, independent entities, independent from each other, each one separate and removed, they are monolithic, and that's dangerous, and it means there can be no justice in Scotland. Let's take a look. Now, this is a very important issue, but before we get into it, I would ask that you do hit the subscribe button. YouTube is still unsubscribing people, but also the algorithm pushes us down because we're political. And for things like this is one of those where we definitely need people to know. And so by hitting that subscribe, it widens the channel. More people can see it and the truth can be revealed. And this is fundamental and dangerous, and it must change. The Lord Advocate and SNP government are beyond the rule of law, and we need reform now. And this is this letter. We're going to go through this letter from Roger Livermore. He has worked tirelessly for the people of Scotland, often behind the scenes, but he does need to be pushed out there and seen as someone who does remarkable work, and we absolutely need to get behind him, because when we go through this, you'll see that what he is saying is not only right and the correct thing to do, but it goes to show that this corrupt SNP government are completely unprosecutable. So we're going to go in and do this. So in her statement to Holyrood on the post office prosecutions and convictions, the Lord Advocate Dorothy Bane blatantly misled Parliament. I don't think anyone would be surprised at someone who is a member of the SNP government lying to Parliament, lying to the press, lying to the people. This is not a surprise. She said the Crown Office and Procurator Fiscal Service is the only public prosecution service in Scotland. She said it acts independently and makes prosecutorial decisions in the public interest. And this is quite wrong, of course. Miss Bane full well knows that unlike other public prosecution services, the COPFS is the Scottish Government's prosecution service. It is headed by two Scottish Government ministers, Miss Bane and the Solicitor General Alison Ruth Charteris. They are always part of the government, and they can never be independent of that which they are always part of. This isn't a case of wearing two hats, one governmental hat, one independent hat. You are always a member of the government. You cannot be removed from it. You cannot be distanced from it. And so therefore, any decision made is always a decision of the government. He continues, at no time are they not the Scottish Government. COPFS is a ministerial-led government department. It has no independence. The law officers and the COPFS are nothing like a lawful prosecutor, such as the Independent Director of Public Prosecutions and Non-Governmental Crown Prosecution Service in England. COPFS is led and staffed by government officers. COPFS is entirely the Scottish Government. There is nothing that is independent about the COPFS. Lord Advocate Bane could not be more wrong, and she must have known it when she made her statement. Decisions on who to prosecute and who not to are made by the Scottish Government. The decisions are made by the law officers with information advice from other government officers. They also act in breach of Section 45 or 48(5) Scotland Act 1998, which states that any decision of the Lord Advocate in his capacity as head of the systems of criminal prosecution and investigation of deaths in Scotland shall be continued to be taken by him independently of any other person. This is never a defence, rather it is a further offence to add to the law officer's constant breaches of Section 57. Miss Bane was wrong on a fundamental issue. There have been no lawful post office prosecutions. The convictions are thereby null and void because there was no independence. As the COPFS, they are not independent. The law states it must be independently prosecuted. This opens up a whole new bag of shit. A can of worms so big that it could alter every single conviction in Scotland since 1999. Miss Bane also referred to the COPFS upholding the rule of law. On the contrary, they ensure that it cannot exist in Scotland. They ensure that the Scottish Government, by being the sole prosecutor, is beyond the law. Scottish ministers and the government cannot prosecute themselves. The Scottish Government is unconstrained by the law. That is demonstrated in its disregard of the UK-wide law on patient safety, circa 2,000 deaths a year, 100 maternity service baby deaths a year, and the Scottish Government aided by law officers trashing the rule of law, by the World Justice Project Rule of Law Index. We would be vying for the bottom position. Lord Advocate Bane blatantly and knowingly misled Parliament. She must cease office with immediate effect. Yours sincerely, Roger M. Livermore. And it says here, Roger Livermore is the former Her Majesty's Inspector, Regulator of Healthcare and Crown Prosecutor. He is the author of Patient Safety in Scotland, setting out the case for the public inquiry. He is basically stating that this woman acts outside of the law simply for having her job. Her job cannot exist in law. She is the prosecutor for the government. She is not an independent prosecutor. Take a moment and process this. It means that since the Scottish Government came into being in 1999, every single prosecution by the Crown Prosecution or a Crown Office or the Procurator Fiscal Service has been an illegal prosecution. Not one of them have been done by an independent prosecutor. They've all been commissioned by the government. And as a result, the government cannot be prosecuted. She is outside the law. She cannot be prosecuted. In theory, the only person who can prosecute Dorothy Bane is Dorothy Bane. There is no independent prosecutor who can prosecute her. Scotland is about to have a very, very big problem with justice, and every single person who's ever been prosecuted could fight this, could have their prosecutions overturned and have their sentences quashed and everything absolved. This is because the Scottish Government wanted to control justice, because they didn't want an independent justice system. Throughout the world, All governments outside of dictatorships rely on the three pillars of the establishment. There's the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. The executive formulate the laws. They announce the laws. They say, these are the laws that we say we want to bring in. The legislature looks at the laws and says whether or not those laws should be brought in. And the judiciary say whether those laws having been brought in are then legal. Each is independent of the other. The executive is the government. So let us look at Parliament. The executive is the cabinet of the UK government. They meet, they propose a law. It goes to the legislature, which is Parliament as a whole, and the House of Lords, who will either allow it or deny it. But the courts then act on that law. They will try people by the laws. They will announce whether the laws are legal or illegal. They can do all this. The three are independent, and it's important. In Scotland, the SNP government are the executive, they are the legislature, and they are the justice system. Monolithic, dangerous, and dictatorial. And it means that by the Scotland Act alone, there is no independent prosecutor. It's going to be fun and games if every single person in Scotland who's ever been convicted goes and asks for it to be quashed because it was an illegal prosecution. Good luck. I hope it happens. I'm going to stop and come up. I'm going to leave that one with you to think about. We'll round off at the top. Now we must listen to Roger Livermore. He knows what he's talking about. This is a man who is an expert in the field. He's been doing it for years. And he's just looked at the law. And the law is quite clear. It asks for an independent prosecution. But you cannot have an independent prosecution when the prosecutor sits within the cabinet of the government. It's going to be astonishing if people do start pushing this through the courts. And of course, this is one of those, because it's fundamental to the Scotland Act. This isn't one that goes up to the Scottish courts. This has got to go to the Supreme Court. And of course, the SNP have no control over that. This could be absolutely revolutionary stuff. And there is nothing they can do. Have they really got it so very badly wrong that 25 years of convictions could be overturned? I do hope so. And I think Dorothy Bane needs to go. And just the other day, we had Joanna Cherry pushing to remove powers from Dorothy Bane, splitting her role. Wow, it's all coming to a head. Do please hit the subscribe button. Definitely hit the like button. Let's get this out there. Let people know exactly what is going on. And you can tell as well, just a last thought, you can tell that they've probably known this for some time and they've deliberately not done anything because they know they can never be prosecuted. Maybe that's why Nicola Sturgeon got away with so much for so long. She was doing it with impunity because she knew she could never, ever face prosecution. It does put a whole new spin on it, doesn't it? Thanks very much for watching. And as I say, do please hit subscribe. Definitely hit the like. Till next time, stay safe, stay well, and I will speak to you later. Bye.